Vito Arujau has had a bit of a rough year by his standards anyways. He suffered 2 losses from the hands of Ryan Crookham, and by the second loss you could say that they were not flukes. However, this is the NCAA's upset city. You're only as good as your last match. Your seed and ranking and previous match history does not matter. And Vito showed that in an epic display of dominance, leaving no doubts as to who the real gamer is. It doesn't matter how the year went, it only matters what happens in March at this tournament, and Vito showed that right here. The two spent the first 30 seconds feeling each other out, little fakes and whatnot, until about the 21-second mark. Vito goes to a low stance and fires off a nice little double from distance. Crookham is able to get to a down block with his left arm, but it wasn't able to match the elevation that Vito had, and so Vito's able to slide right under it to get his shot. When someone postures low this far away, you really need to stay in as low of a stance as possible. Now, you don't have to go down to a knee if they're doing that. You can stay in your stance, but your level should at least match theirs. You can judge that by where your head is in relation to theirs. Your head should always be at their level, if not lower. So if they do go for a shot from space, you can use your head to block the shot. At worst, you'll hit head to head, and yeah, it'll hurt, but try to tilt your head down a little bit so that your hairline is what gets hit and not your face. You can try to get a head position there too, putting it into the shoulder. At best, this pushes you away from them as they shoot and makes your down blocks more effective, while giving you a good position to take a reshot if you're able to catch an arm drag or an underhook or something similar. Crookham is not able to match that elevation, so while the down block did happen, Vito got into the shot anyways. Vito is deflected to a high crotch and then reaches for a double as Crookham jumps over looking for a crotch lock. Vito lifts immediately, slides his hips forward to make the crotch lock more difficult to get, while maybe dropping Crookham on his head. Lets go of the leg and turns, which makes Crookham's crotch lock even less effective. If you dive over the top, it's better to try to force your opponent out the back door position. People are calling this the waterfall now, no idea why. But you'd have to pop the head to the inside first, and Vito's head was too well positioned on the outside for that already. Vito circles around for the takedown. Crookham wasn't able to match that angle or even control Vito's legs as he circled because of the crotch lock he had turned into almost a weak Peterson grip on that inside leg, which isn't going to do much there. Crookham kept wrestling and circling, which was smart. When you're getting taken down, you need to keep moving to either get the quick escape, or sometimes a ref will wave off the points if they decide there was no control. But those points do stick. Score is 3-1 Vito. 54 seconds left to go in the first. Vito goes lefty collar tie. Crookham reaches for an overtie on his right. Vito lifts that elbow up and goes to a righty high crotch. This is a shot I've seen a ton recently. It's a great way to counter an overtie and just gives people openings left and right. It's almost like if you want to go to an overtie these days, you need to use it right away. Do a slide by grabbing the inside elbow with your left hand and turn away, or even pull, make your opponent step and drop to a near single. There are a bunch of options off of this tie-up, but you need to use it or else this could always happen. Otherwise, you might as well just pop the elbow up and get a lefty high crotch or ready single. Or maybe go pass by. Push that elbow to the left, which is very effective lefty, by the way, because it isn't felt as often. The normal pass by is with the left hand in the righty high crotch. Vito aims for a double, catches both legs, circles around, and lifts Crookham as Crookham tries to go crotch lock again. Vito lifts Crookham off the mat. In this position, offensively, you do have to be a little careful. You can't walk out of bounds. It's a fleeing the mat call. You give up a point. You can't drop your opponent on his head or shoulders. That's an illegal call as well. It's your responsibility to get your opponent back to the mat safely. Crookham here really needs to slide off of the shoulders and create some chaos. So slide left, try to pull your body underneath your opponent, who is likely going to drop on that side, and if you can get your body under them as they drop, there's a good chance you can roll them through and get back to a sprawl position. So Crookham needs to create some kind of action. He can't just do nothing. But nothing is what he does. So Vito drops him onto his hips, keeps his inside shoulder low so Crookham can't budge him, and works his way to locking up the leg and getting a takedown. At this point here, Crookham should have let go of the crotch lock and tried to grab the near ankle and roll for funk. I know it might be a long shot sometimes, but it's something. It's better than waiting for Vito to lock up a leg and get a takedown. Period finishes out at 6-1 Vito. Second period, Crookham gets choice, chooses bottom. He now needs a lot of points. Starting on bottom and getting an escape gets him closer, plus Vito doesn't like to ride on top these days. He seems to prefer neutral, so getting that escape shouldn't be too difficult. Crookham does stand up and hold position, forcing Vito to push him away and not give up a stalling call. Score is 6-2 Vito. The period is pretty tame after that until about the 46-second mark. Vito fakes. Crookham does his fake right, dive left at the shot, but this time Vito is well aware of this. For context, Crookham got this shot twice last time they met and scored with it both times, something I bet Vito has been working to counter, or at the very least is in the back of his mind. Vito steps his right leg back, does a light snap, a light arm drag, and attacks the righty single. So for Crookham to keep getting this kind of a shot, he would need to build off of it. Yeah, it worked twice the last match, but how about you fake left and go right this time? Or fake right, fake left, then go right. When you do something to someone too much, they naturally just learn to adapt to it and can feel out the position and react better over time. So you have to keep switching things up, otherwise otherwise they'll just keep on getting better at defending it. That's a natural thing human beings tend to do. We as a species are very good at recognizing patterns, so you can't be too habitual with your attacks. The same offense doesn't get better over time by doing the same thing. Defense, however, does, so you gotta switch it up. Vito follows the shot, gets the double, lifts it up, drops his shoulder. This is very similar to the last takedown he got. He just sits on a crotch lock and doesn't take any real action, and the takedown happens eventually. He did drop to the near ankle at the end of this takedown, but too little too late. Vito gets the third takedown, now up 9-2. Period runs out, Vito takes bottom. It's pretty easy to finish off a match if you're up by 7 points. Even with this new 3-point takedown, he'd still need to give up 3 takedowns to lose here. Crookham, on the other hand, he needs takedowns. He shouldn't be wasting any time riding Vito out, yet he does for 30 seconds for I don't know what reason. If you need 3 takedowns, you should cut him at the start of the period. You need all the time you can get. I've seen people ride someone out here in this position hoping for backs or a pin, work way less than cutting them and looking for a takedown or two, hopefully one to their back as they run away, because that definitely does happen. It's just much more likely of a scenario. It's very easy for a good wrestler to stall on bottom and not give up any points in the third period. You need to trust in the crazy opportunities you tend to get on your feet to win matches from this far down. Like a shot to a Turk to back points, or even some kind of throw if it's getting late in the match. I wouldn't do it at the beginning of the period. The odds are not amazing, but they're more in your favor on your feet at this point. The match winds down, but Vito's not done. He decides to put the cherry on top. Again with the same setup, Vito goes lefty collar, Crookham goes over tie on the right, Vito lifts his elbow, shoots for a double, circles around, wraps up both ankles for an easy takedown, 12-2. Now Vito is even more confident. He cuts Crookham, 12-3. Crookham posts, Vito shoots. Crookham does get to a shin whizzer, but Vito throws in the far leg and would have gotten another takedown if they didn't roll out of bounds. Throwing this far leg in when someone has a whizzer is very sneaky. A lot of wrestlers don't see it coming and so aren't guarding that far side, especially in crazy situations. Vito did the same shin whizzer counter to Dayton Fix last year at NCAAs, I think. I have no idea why Vito got a point near the end. Maybe they thought the roll out of bounds was malicious because Vito hit his head on the mat. Not likely in my opinion, but the match ends 13-3. Vito stamping hard that he will not be beaten when it really matters. This is the Vito I'm used to seeing. Attacking often, explosive action, confident. This is the world champ.